Hello students, welcome to the class of Business Studies. I am N.K. Thukral from Edupedia World. Students, in the previous sessions, we have been discussing on the subject planning. We have discussed earlier meaning of planning, features of planning, importance of planning, limitations of planning, and also steps in planning processes as well as type of plans. In the previous sessions specifically, we have discussed on strategies and policies. Today we will discuss on procedures, methods, rules, budgets, etc. Let's talk on first of all procedure. Procedure in general sense, we can say a particular way of accomplishing something or of acting. Let me tell you the few sentences in which a word procedure is mentioned. For example, installing a car battery is a simple procedure. Another is, what is the procedure for applying for a loan? Normally, if you go to the bank and you ask for a loan, and you will first ask the manager of the bank that what is the procedure for applying for a loan. It means you want to know the process. Another is, new employees are taught the proper safety procedures. Another one you can give, we must follow proper court procedures. So the procedure for treating a burn, or the procedure will take 2 hours. It means you can understand that there is always a procedure or a process or a procedure in every sort of thing. Like is how you can define, or I can tell you first of all the meaning, a series of actions that are done in a certain way or order. So process or procedure means a series of actions. Those are involved in that. A series of actions that are done in a certain way or order. An established or accepted way of doing something. So you must understand there is some sort of custom involved, process involved. So that's why we say an established or accepted way of doing something. Or you can say a medical treatment or an operation. Now let's see how you can define procedure. As you can see in the slide, procedure is a chronological sequence of various steps to be taken in order to perform an activity in an efficient manner. So here in the procedure, what is important is the process is there in a chronological sequence of various steps to be taken in order to perform an activity. And that activity needs to be performed in an effective and efficient manner. That's why the process is made or procedure is made. Now let's see, students, what are the features of procedure. Number one is generally established for repetitive activity. A procedure or process is generally established for repetitive activity so that same steps are followed whenever that activity is to be performed. That's why the established process is there and for repetitive activity. Another feature is generally to enforce a policy. The sequence of steps to be taken are generally to enforce a policy and to attain predetermined objectives. So you see what is important? Predetermined objectives. So that's why it said to enforce a policy. Another feature is rigid in nature. That is a quality, you cannot say quality, this is a feature of a procedure that they are rigid, they are fixed. Whatever is said to you, you have to follow. So that's why we say procedures are rigid, not flexible, and do not leave any scope for individual judgment. If you are following the procedure and if you have something in your mind to change that, you cannot. That's why we say it's a rigid in nature. Another is policies and procedures are interrelated. Policies and procedures are related to each other as procedures are steps to be carried out within a broad policy framework. Another feature of procedure is different procedures in different departments. An organization may have different procedures. As you must be aware, if you go to the bank, there are different types of department, loan department, cash department, or you can say another current account department. So every there they have the groups, they are called the department. So procedures are there differently in different type of categories of work. So enterprise may have different procedures, like procedures for processing an order, recruitment of employees, collection of payments, and so on. Let me give you an example on that. An enterprise may have following procedures for purchase of goods. First, identify the various suppliers, then invite quotation from them, and then compare the quotations, and then place order to the supplier who offers the best quotation, and then receipt and inspection of goods and make payment to the supplier. So all of these steps are there in these processes, and all are in the chronological order. So that's why we say that procedures is a chronological sequence of various steps to be taken so that we can achieve the objective. What is the objective? So activity is performed in an efficient manner. Now let's go ahead, students. After the procedure, the another is methods. Now let me define you, or let me clear you the meaning of methods. Methods is a prescribed process in which a particular operation or an activity is performed. So it is a process. Method is a prescribed process. A process is prescribed or defined in a department in which particular operation or an activity, any activity needs to be performed or to be done with a prescribed process. That's why we say it's a method. Method is there. So the meaning of method, as you can see in the slide, is a method is a prescribed process. Process is prescribed in which a particular operation or an activity is performed. Now students, after having the meaning of methods, let me tell you what are the features or what are the characteristics of methods. Number one is specify the manner in which each segment of a task can be performed in an effective way. So methods specify the manner in which each segment of a task can be performed effectively. The methods may vary from task to task. This is one feature. Another feature is it saves time, money, and effort. Selection of proper methods saves time, money, and effort, and increases efficiency also. Unless you have a method, you will be going in a different way. Everybody will be going in a different way to perform an activity, but that's not correct. That rather will increase the time also, money also, and effort also. So that's why we say methods must be there in all type of activities. Another is to be stated in clear and in prescribed terms. Methods should be stated in a clear and precise terms to improve organization efficiency and to bring orderliness to the workplace. Every employee needs to understand. So that's why we say it should be very clear. It should not be ambiguous. It's very clear and to be in a precise terms. So these are the features of methods. Let me give you an example. There are different methods available for valuation of stock like FIFO, first in, first out, or LIFO, last in, first out, etc. Business can select any method for valuation of stock. Selection of a particular method avoids confusion and helps in smooth functioning. That's why methods are written. Methods are in all the departments by the organization. Now after knowing the methods, let's go ahead, students. Let's see what are rules. Rules, as you can see in the slide, definition is given. Rules are specific statements that inform what is to be done. So there is a specific statement which is written anywhere and that inform what needs to be done. For example, if you go to a restaurant, if it is written, we serve the traditional food at its best and at affordable prices. We specialize in classic game cookery, oysters, pies and puddings. So these are the statements given in the menu where these are called the rules which are followed by the restaurants. Now what are the features of rules? Number one characteristic is rules reflect a managerial decision. Rules always reflect a managerial decision that a certain action must or must not be taken. Employees are expected to comply with the rules while performing an activity. Another one is rules are rigid in nature. Like procedures, rules are also rigid and demand strict compliance. They do not allow for any flexibility or discretion. That's why we say rules are rigid in nature. Another is usually the simplest type of plans. Rules are usually the simplest type of plans as there is no compromise or change unless a policy decision is taken by the management. Another one is rules are enforced to maintain discipline. Rules are enforced to maintain discipline and to avoid disorder and chows in organization. Their violation is generally associated with some sort of disciplinary action. Now students, after covering rules and their features, let's go ahead. See next, budget. What is budget? You must be aware, or I will tell you the meaning of budget is a statement of expected results expressed in numerical terms over a specified period of times. So budget is a statement of expected result which is clearly expressed in numerical terms only and over a specific period of time. Budgets are always made for a specific period of time, not in vague. A statement is not vague, it's very clear. Statement of expected results which are needs to be expected, and these are expected in numerical terms and for a specified period of time. Now you can see the financial budget, you must have heard accounts budget, financial budget, etc. IT budgets in the organizations. These are all the budgets which are clearly given in the expected in numerical terms and for either 1 year or 2 year or 3 year. Normally budget is prepared only for 1 year so that we can compare the results, existing data and coming data, and we compare at the end. This is why budget is prepared. Now let's see what are the features of budget. Number one nature is budget facilitates comparison. Budgets always facilitate comparison of actual results with the planned ones as they are expressed in numerical terms. Another feature is serves as a control yardstick. That's why we make the budgets, so that we can compare and we can see the results and we can see the performance. So they also serve as control device and yardstick for measuring actual performance. Another one is budgets injects a sense of clarity and directions. Budgets inject a sense of clarity, direction and purpose in the activities of the organization. So budget is a fundamental planning instrument in many organizations. Another feature is that various departments have various budgets. Some important budgets used in organization are sales budget, protection budget, cash budget, revenue budget, expense budget, etc. etc. Like for example, cash budget is prepared to show the expected inflow and outflow of cash for a period in advance. Cash flow comes from sales and cash outflows in the form of expenses. The net cash position can be determined by subtracting cash outflow from cash inflow. That's why it's called cash budget. Now after covering budget, next is program. Students, I may tell you the meaning of program or what is program. You can see in the slide, a program is a combination of objectives, policies, procedures, rules, tasks and other elements designed to get a systematic working in the organization. And now you can see the important words here in program is a combination of objectives. All the objectives are clarified, given, and policies also there, procedures are also there, all are there, rules, tasks and other elements which are designed, and these policies, objectives, rule, tasks are designed to get a systematic working in the organization. Otherwise, if an organization have no procedures, no objectives, no policies, that organization doesn't go ahead, doesn't succeed in a given period of time. Further, program, what it involves? Program involves planning for future events and establishing a sequence of required action. It gives a step-by-step approach to guide the action necessary to reach a predetermined goal. The minutest details are worked out within the broad policy framework. Further, I may tell you that program can be of different types like production program, training program, sales promotion program, etc. For example, a company may have program with respect to construction of new factory premises. That's why we call it a program. So program is a must in any organization. So students, after covering the policies, procedures, methods, budget, program, now we need to compare one by one. And first of all, let us compare between policy and procedure. As you can see in the slide, the policy and procedure bases are given. Number one is need. In case of policies, policy is needed for achieving objectives. In case of procedures, procedure is needed for the implementation of policy. Next is scope for discretion. Policies are flexible. As we can say, policies can be changed. Policies are flexible and managers have discretion within the prescribed limits, whereas procedures are more rigid in nature and there is little scope for discretion to be used by managers. Another one is basis for comparison is expression. Policies is expressed as a general statement, whereas procedure is expressed in specific terms. And another is area of application. Policies have broad areas of application, whereas procedures have very limited area of applications. Now students, after knowing the comparison between policy and procedure, next we can compare between procedures and methods or procedures and rules. Let's first compare between procedure and methods. Number one is scope. Procedures has a wide scope as it lays down sequence of all activities to be completed, whereas methods have limited scope as they are confined to one step of procedure. Another is flexibility. Procedures are more rigid as compared to methods, whereas methods are flexible statements. Another is purpose. Procedures aims to develop steps for completing an activity, whereas methods aims to standardize the way of completing a task. Now let's go ahead, see the comparison between procedures and rules. Number one is nature. In case of procedure, they indicate broad guidelines within which management can exercise little discretion, whereas in case of rules strictly define the guidelines and there is no scope for any discretion. Another is flexibility. Procedures are more flexible as compared to rules, whereas rules are rigid statement. Another one is effect of violation. There is no specific penalty for violation of procedure, whereas in case of rules, the guilty has to face penalty in case of any sort of violation. Next example can be given of procedure and rules. What is the example of procedure? Procedure established for selection of employees by a company. Rules of no smoking in the organization. No smoking is a word written, that is a rule, whereas selection of employees of a company is established and process is there. That's why we say that it's the established procedure. So these are the differences between procedures and rules. Now let's go ahead, students. What's the comparison between policy and rules? That I can say number one is nature. In case of policies is a general statement, whereas rules is the most specific statement. It's very strict. That's why we say it's a specific statement. Like I gave you example, no smoking. It's a specific word is there. This is a rule. In case of policy, this is a general statement. Another is purpose. In case of policies, objective is to guide in decision making. Policies always objective is to guide in decision making, whereas in case of rules, the objective is to guide to human behavior. Flexibility. In case of policies are generally flexible, whereas rules are rigid and there is no scope for any deviations. Another one is effect of violation. There is no penalty specified for violation of policies, whereas the guilty has to face penalty in case of violation. Example of policy is company may have policy to make payments more than 1 lakh by check. So what is the policy? To make payment more than 1 lakh by check. Whereas in case of example of rule, no smoking. Earlier I told you that no smoking is a specific rules and that is given written in the organization and departments. So that's why these are called rules. So student, I think you must have understood everything. Now today we have covered methods, procedures, policies, rules and methods and comparison amongst them, where also we have covered budget and program. So let's call for the day today. Let us wind up this session. In next session we will start in the next chapter, that is organizing. So thank you. Bye bye. Okay.